Introduction. Sky High is an upcoming, open-world, flight-based exploration game that centers the player in vast landscapes and world spaces to explore and navigate, create nests, interact with wildlife, or see what the forests have in store for you. Sky High has been created over a period of 5 to 6 months by myself, Matthew Roberts, and my longtime friend Joshua Thompson. We started this project with the idea of creating an immersive flight experience that also has a focus on accessibility and ease of use for our players. To help us facilitate creating our grand ambition, we set up regular meetings which allowed us to pair program, but also to hash out ideas on why things would and wouldn't work for our project. Initial planning, 3D work. Having worked together on previous projects, Josh and I already had a good understanding of each other's strengths. From day one, we made a conscious effort to plan around our individual skill sets. We created a Trello board and started logging tasks, and also set out some long-term goals for the project. Personally, I saw this project as a chance to push myself beyond my comfort zone. While I'm confident in my programming skills, I chose to dive into 3D art and environment design, areas I hadn't really touched since college. Well, why did I choose to work on this? Well, for me, this has become the obvious choice in most of my personal and professional projects. I can display technical programming very well, but everything else, not so much. The role of an indie game developer is one that's ever becoming more T-shaped as small studios and teams increasingly have one person completing in multiple roles. With how both me and Josh decided to structure the project, I had great opportunity to work on 3D art, but still time to develop new technical systems and tools that helped and added onto the project in significant ways. At the end of the day, programming is still my bread and butter, so to speak. I decided not to reinvent the wheel. Instead, I got to grips with Unity's terrain tools and Blender's intuitive, easy to learn yet powerful toolset. Both I'd used in some capacity in the past, so neither were foreign to me, and this aided me later in the project. Region, system, and tool creation. In order to make our lives easier and to streamline our work, I set out to make a framework and tool that allowed us to create regions and edit the parameters of them rapidly, without messing with the Unity Inspector's clunkiness. I first started by creating the region framework itself. Basically, any region in the world space has access to this component and holds a few key parameters like size, current weather, score boost when entering, more on that later, and ambient sound and music variables. This list is not extensive, but it's this framework that allows us to cut or add features as we go. After this, I started work on the region creator, a simple yet powerful tool that exposes all the internal GUI bits of all the regions whilst letting you create new ones. The idea here was to make an easier process than what would be the case if you used Unity's built-in tools. And to that extent, it works very well, especially with how easy it is to find and rename any given region. However, you may be thinking that this was my first adventure into using the advanced features offered by custom Unity editors to make tools. It's not. A long while ago, in my first year of university, we were challenged to make a Unity tool before the next lecture for a prize. I was in fact the only one that tried this, and subsequently won that prize. This is now 3 years later, and that tool is still in use. It's called Mat Mass Asset Placer, or mmap for short. It allows users to place assets across a world space quickly and efficiently. The code for it hasn't changed for 3 to 4 years now, and it still does pretty much everything I need it to do. You have the option to snap objects to the surface below them, or place them between a random range. There's a few more features I want to add after I wrap this project up, like safety checks to make sure the user won't crash the editor. Or even ways to randomize different properties of the placed assets, like size, shape, rotation, and colour. It was all that time ago that I realised that I love making tools for the games I'm working on, not just to speed up my own workflow, but to also optimise future flows in different projects. And whilst I understand that some tools are very specialised, like the AI Patrol Creator I made for a different project, most have parts that I can use again or use entirely, just like mmap. It's these systems that have made me realise that I want to lean more into tool creation. I love finding ways to make a task easier. Want to place 500 crates, all with different rotations, shadings and sizes? Sure, the tool can handle that and will take the workload off a designer so more can get done elsewhere. Now don't get me wrong, I think it's very important to understand when a tool is needed versus when it's not. As I said previously, I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel, but it's these smaller tools that I can complete rapidly that fill me with the most satisfaction in game development. Before we move on to the score system, here is a brief look at some of the code for mmap. Please do forgive any rookie errors. It was made a very long time ago and will probably need a few optimizations or fixes somewhere, as is customary with any code in production. Score system. The score system was something that neither Josh nor I originally planned to include. Early on, Sky High was purely about free exploration and immersion. As time went on, we realised we needed something more to keep players engaged. Basically, a gameplay loop that added purpose and replayability to the experience, especially once players had flown around a few times. That's where the score system came in. It acts as a soft challenge layer, working alongside the exploration systems without getting in the way. The goal was to motivate players to fly further, explore more thoroughly, and interact with the world in fun and dynamic ways. That said though, we were careful not to let scoring break immersion. So, we created two modes. A standard mode with gamified score elements, and an immersive mode, which strips all of that away. In immersive mode, there's no UI clutter, no points, just the environment, your bird, and the freedom to explore. In the standard mode, however, score is awarded for things like discovering new regions, executing near misses with terrains or obstacles, stringing together flight combos, and later in development, nest building, adjoining flocks, and interacting with wildlife. All of this feeds into the world's feedback loop, giving players an incentive to keep exploring and improving, while still allowing us to stay true to the original calm, open-ended spirit of the game. One system I built specifically to support the score mechanic was the near-miss system. This is a system that tracks how close players get to certain objects, like trees, rocks, or terrain, and rewards them with score when they narrowly avoid collision. The goal was to encourage risky, stylish flying without punishing players too harshly. It was also a fun technical challenge. I used a physics overlap sphere to perform proximity checks to make sure the system felt fair and responsive. When it triggers, players get a small visual and audio cue, making it feel satisfying without breaking the flow of flight. Conclusion. Sky High has been one of the most ambitious and rewarding projects I've worked on to date. It challenged me not only as a programmer, but also as a designer, artist, and problem solver. Collaborating with Josh again allowed us to push each other's ideas further, with both of us taking on different responsibilities that played to our strengths. However, that said, there are still things that I would change if given the chance to do the project again. Mainly, my ability to balance time and how I split my time across the different systems that I was managing. Whether this was 3D art, design, or programming, I think I could have done a better job in equally dividing my time between all areas. I feel like I focused too much on 3D art at first, and then when I realised this, I focused too much on programming and design, and vice versa. Overall, we set out to create a peaceful yet engaging experience. A game where players could fly freely, explore at their own pace, and immerse themselves in a world that feels alive. Through systems like region management, scoring, near misses, and our custom tools, and even the AI and systems that Josh created to support the game, we laid the foundation for something that could genuinely stand out in the exploration genre. There's still plenty of work to be done, but I'm proud of how far we've come. I'm grateful for everything I've learned along the way. Thank you for watching.